Hey, welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 306, and this week we're talking about Ticketmaster and Live Nation, America's newest monopoly. You know, a court just ruled that they violated antitrust laws, and I, for one, am shocked. That is sarcasm. So what does it mean? What does it mean for venues? What does it mean for the artists? And what does it mean for you, the music fan? We're going to get into it with our good friend Sheehan Perera, aka Concertpants, next on the State of Love and Trust.
Hey, I'm Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Hey kids, this is Mark Arm from Mudhoney.
I'm Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Hi, I'm Dave Cruzen.
I am William Duvall of Alice in Chains.
Hey, I'm James Joseph from James and the Cold Gun.
I'm Tim Montana.
I am Alan Johannes.
Hey, I'm Greg Deal with Dead Pioneers.
This is the State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
The State of Love and Trust.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. Feed the algorithm.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the State of Love and Trust podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
Paul. I love what you got in your hand there. I also have one of those because this is the kind of conversation today that's going to need a little bit of something to get through, I think.
People have strong positions on this subject.
Yeah, and before we get into these strong positions, I must please implore you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications here on YouTube. Thank you kindly for doing so. And if you're listening audio only, Paul,
You are rating, reviewing, and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that Ticketmaster free algorithm and help us out.
it is not vertically integrated into Live Nation, but you know what is vertically integrated into the show is our social media. So if you're on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or TikTok or Blue Sky, go ahead. Links are below. Get at us over there. Pardon me, and we'll continue the conversation over there. Now, you bring up Ticketmaster. I bring up Live Nation. Paul, we had a conversation about 2 years ago about Pearl Jam ticket prices for the Dark Matter World Tour, because with some people there's a bit of a kerfuffle. And, things that those companies have somehow found themselves back to the fore in the last couple of weeks.
They have. And we were fortunate, Jason, to have a guest with us when we had this conversation 2 years ago. And wouldn't it be apropos to have that same guest back with us today? Senior Ticketmaster shill himself.
The foil to our saber, Sheehan Perera, Concertpants.
Hello, Senior Ticketmaster. Wow, love it.
Senior Ticketmaster shill, I believe is what he said.
Yeah, okay, yes, true.
That's not kind.
We kid.
So here's the if you couldn't have read the title of the episode already. This is a news-based pod in that it actually is evergreen, because this is a thing that's been going on for 30 years now, just about. And I'll give you the news. If you don't know the news, here's the news as I bring up my notes. So what basically happened was a federal jury in New York found that Live Nation and Ticketmaster are liable for violating antitrust laws. And specifically, they were found to have operated. You don't
say.
I know, right? Who'd have thought that? They operated as an illegal monopoly in three things: primary ticketing services, concert promotion, and major venue access. And so this is what they were accused of doing. And Sheehan, before we got going, you mentioned a $280 million fee that they had to pay. And that was when the DOJ
preceded this, right? So I think there were two steps to this. One of them was the DOJ taking them to court, which was settled after basically just a week. Like, I was actually gearing up for oh my gosh, okay, this is going to be a couple of weeks of, updates and, can't wait to hear all the different sides and see everything that comes up. But it was settled very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of the settlement was basically, or rather the terms of the settlement were to create a fund in the amount of about $280 million, of which not just fans, but venues, promoters, anybody who had been harmed by this monopoly activity would be able to receive funds for restitution, whatever the right word is here. But yeah, that was that piece. It was then the state attorneys general of about 32 states, of which I don't know exactly which they all were, that went a step further and did this in New York. And it was the New York jury that found, what you just mentioned.
And it says they used their dominance across the stack. Now, the stack meaning I mentioned vertically integrated, which means they have primary, like I guess, ownership or contracts with venues, promotion, and ticketing. And they said that integration of having the lock on all three of those points of access for a tour for artists and for fans is what blocked competition, or that's where they blocked competition too. And
so in some cases,
that,
management also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now they found, and this is going to seem a little strange. I'm going to mention a number here, guys. And you're going to be like, or you guys at home are going to be like, wait, that's it? What? They discovered that fans were overcharged about $1.72 per ticket on average. You're like, oh my God, all of this over $1.72?
Right.
But you extrapolate that out to the access and to the secondary market where they're making hand over fist because there's more service fees on top of those secondary transactions, and where artists aren't making what they should be making because they can't choose where they want to play necessarily, which I believe that might have been something that Pearl Jam was arguing 32 years ago. Do you guys remember that at all?
Yeah, so you seem to be suggesting that Pearl Jam may have lost the war, but they won the argument, I guess.
At the time.
That the argument was ahead of its time. Yeah, it became far more relevant. I mean, at that point, they were talking about $32 tickets here, where now we're talking about up to $80 in the fees alone. So yeah, and as Jason mentioned, vertically along the stack too. It wasn't about the management and the promotion and all of that at that time, which I think is also largely a misconception of what was going on here. This is not just about ticket prices.
No. And so that's why I said that number is a little misleading, because you're like, oh, well, I only got overcharged $1.72. Well, I think there's more to it than that. And I think the jury agreed. Now, we should probably go back in time a little bit. I mentioned Pearl Jam, and we all know that the band sort of quasi started the whole Coachella thing by going out to Indio and the Polo Grounds in 93 and testing that model of what if we just ignored all that? And it kind of sort of worked. And so 2 years later, when they were like, well, we got to take a stand properly and tried our 95 tour, and it was out in the middle of the sticks. And Paul, you said it, they lost that battle, but the argument is sound. And obviously, we all know about Jeff and Stone testifying before Congress. And the Clinton administration settled that very quickly as well. Isn't that weird how the government, no matter who's in charge, decides to just settle with corporations very easily? A little slap on the wrist. Why is that? I don't know. And then in 2010, Live Nation and Ticketmaster, they merged. DOJ approved that, allowing this vertical integration of venue, promotion, and ticket sales, and possibly management, as you said. And there's something called a consent and decree, where I don't really. Do you guys know what that means? I don't really know what that means. The consent and decree that they ignored, and they violated time and again. So they strengthened it again later on, and that didn't do anything. And then I think the thing that really kind of put this into motion, to where we got this decision now, was the Taylor Swift era's tour ticketing fiasco, where millions got locked out and there's bots all over the place. And, Taylor is the biggest thing on the planet. And so I think that's what triggered the Senate hearings and the renewed DOJ antitrust push and the mainstream outrage.
You could argue Taylor Swift may have done more for antitrust awareness than Congress has.
Oh, 100%. And so now we're here,
right?
Where where you said, Sheehan, about the $280 million and all the attorneys generals coming in. And so now we have this thing that happened where they're like, hey, yeah, you did do the bad thing.
Right.
So now what? Now what are we waiting for?
Well, I guess so. What we were talking about earlier, right, is that there are, I guess maybe the jury has found them guilty of it, but have not yet constructed what the verdict actually looks like. And so we've seen documentation, we've seen journalism about what 4 characteristics they would like to see.
Right.
And many of these include just basically saying, hey, look, they're obviously the one thing they would love is to see a divestiture between Live Nation and Ticketmaster, but also between any of those entities playing into the same show. So Live Nation cannot promote more than 50% of a tour. And Live Nation cannot be the promoter if they also own the venue. Live Nation cannot own the venue or be the promoter or do ticketing if they are the manager of that artist. Right. So in any way, it's kind of like you can only be involved in one dimension, not in 3.
It's the reverse of winning Clue. Like you can't have all 3 anymore. Whereas in Clue, you have to have all 3, right?
Okay, yeah.
So this is, I have the candlestick, but I don't know what room it is and I don't know who did it. That's okay. That's okay. Right. So but we haven't figured that out. That hasn't been determined yet. So now we have to wait for the verdict. We have to wait for the action, right? We're in this limbo period of like, okay, they acknowledge the thing. Paul, what do you think fans that read this and they see the $1.72? We're waiting for something to happen, but like, is it just?
Are we? I mean, people hate monopolies until fragmentation becomes inconvenient. I mean, think about this for a second. Do fans actually want reform if it risks losing convenience? That's the question I think we have to really be posing. And I think that this presents an opportunity for every fan of music who buys a ticket to stop for a moment and recalibrate, because you're talking about one app, okay? One app, one marketplace, one ecosystem, instant access in a world where convenience and instant access has never been more prevalent and attractive than it is today. So I can't help but wonder. And I think there's some degree of accountability in the sense that did our desire and need for that convenience help create this monster? Like, are we essentially, did we inadvertently allow this exploitation to perpetuate for 30 years instead of joining in the fight to actively curb it when we had an opportunity when those fees were not $80?
Well, it's also, sorry, Sheehan, I was just going to say, it's kind of like, there's also an exhaustion because we're just getting raked over the coals in any number of ways, across life. So the convenience thing, it's like, all right, I'm getting a $20 surcharge here. It's almost like the frog in the boiling water, where it's been happening for so long and steadily gotten more and more pricey. And then do you guys remember when ticket prices started getting kind of out of control? Like multiple hundreds of dollars for one night at an event? When did that start?
I do, but I don't think the real monopoly is tickets. To Sheehan's point, I think the real monopoly is access. It's access to the venues, to the tours, to the artists, to the cultural relevance. To me, that is what has been monopolized, and that's the piece that we want.
Right. But if they monopolize the entirety of it, they can charge all of those pieces of the ladder as much as they want. Because there's no competition.
True. I mean, and the fact that they're getting a cut at every standpoint, the cut is going to the same place.
Right.
Now, that's why, if any of this or if all of this takes effect, we shouldn't expect to see a decrease in ticket prices. But what will happen is that a bigger cut might go to the artist, and a bigger cut might go to the promoter, and a bigger cut might go to the venue, and anything like that, right? So people will be doing better in the industry. Like the way, when I was thinking about it, I actually thought, okay, I think the entity that's going to do the best here are actually the promoters. And we as fans will probably benefit from that too. So Paul, you'll appreciate this, right? Bill Graham, right? The Fillmore West.
Yeah.
Bill Graham.
I saw Pearl Jam 4 times in San Francisco at the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium.
Exactly, the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium. But like from everything that Bill Graham built in, the 60s and the 70s, there's an entire culture, there's an entire study around how he put bands together that necessarily didn't belong together, right? But he was doing things and he was taking chances and he was creating, different microcosms of fan bases and understanding where to merge them and where not to. And we've lost all of that. We've lost the promoter personality in the concert industry in the country, right? Because of what's going on. Yeah. So when promoters are suddenly empowered again to take risks like that and to put new bands together, to put interesting shows together, that's really interesting. And I think that is going to be the way that the art of the concert actually wins again.
I mean, I would agree with you because consumers, like what we're saying, we hate Ticketmaster, but we keep feeding the machine.
Exactly. Right? I mean, that's what Jason, you said, like, when did they get out of hand? Right. And you mentioned something even earlier where I agreed with it. And I was kind of like, I'm not sitting here kind of thinking, oh man, this is terrible because I just figured out how to exist with it. And it's been this way for so long. And concerts are such a big part of my life that like, I did manage to figure out everything. I mean, for where the expense comes in, it's like, okay, look, that's what it costs, and that's it. Like, I haven't had the time to kind of think.
Here's a question for you.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Is live music still for everybody, or is it only for people with disposable income at this point?
Well, then that's part of the. That's part of the problem, I think. But to your point about the you're saying about the tickets prices won't necessarily go down. Well. We think about there are still venues, especially in bigger cities where there are a ton of venues. In Los Angeles, there are like 3 or 4 new ones, like Pacific Electric's a brand new spot. There's another one downtown. I'm blanking on. I think it's called Band something. It's by downtown. But there are so many venues, and a lot of those are actually independent. And some of the smaller bands actually do go there. The Troubadour sells only through their website. Hotel Cafe does that. Like, there's a lot of
so
places.
Then you're putting the pound, but that means the venue is responsible. I mean, like, which I get, but I don't know how many like you're talking about iconic venues that are long-standing for decades in major markets. Like, touring is one of the few major revenue streams left for artists because streaming pays so poorly.
Right.
So that pressure basically trickles down into higher ticket prices. So could one argue that if we had a model where streaming paid better, I mean, James and the Cold Gun, it's a t-shirt you're wearing right now, exceptional band, right? This band needs to, if that band was receiving a better revenue stream from streaming, would they need to rely upon touring as much? I would argue no. And then that would, of course, I think, divert a lot of this, this pressure.
Yes,
certainly could.
But also, if let's say that there is a divestiture, right? They split apart, and you mentioned the 50% of promotion thing, and things starting. More companies come about, or venues start to be able to promote themselves and throw their hat in the ring for certain tours, right? And so everyone kind of gets their own shot at it. I think what you have then is you have more money per ticket going to, so maybe let's say it's still $50 ticket. Right. More money to go to the artist itself and the venue, allowing them to do more, as opposed to going to this monolith that is charging you obscene amounts of money to stay within itself. I think you'll see ticket prices either stay the same for a while outside of inflation, but I don't think you'll see a drop in touring. I think you'll see touring continue to be a big thing, but bands will actually be able to float higher up and do more. I mean, if they have more money, they
could be. I mean, there are so many different ways to come at it too, right? Like the other thing is, what if artists just played smaller venues, but played 3 or 4 shows, right? Because that's also tacking on to the costs, right? That's tacking on to the production costs and everything involved with putting together a bigger show. But to your point, Paul, too, right? Is live music still for everybody? Well, at those costs and at that level of production, the lights, the number of speakers it takes, all of that kind of stuff. If everyone just moved more towards a model of, hey, we're just going to get more intimate, or we're going to play 3 nights in your city, right? Production costs go down. Like, is that the way to do it? So I think there are many ways to kind of like go at this, and where you reduce costs and where you put it back into.
That's kind of toothpaste out of the tube, though, because I think for a lot of people, a lot of young kids especially, once you see a show with production value, it's kind of hard to not want to see that.
That Era's tour ticket for that young person you're talking about, that was probably like, that was the trip for the year, period. That was the experience. Right. There's nothing else. You're not going home for the holidays. I mean, that was it.
I mean, that was actually also largely on the resale market, right? Like, for everything we hear about prices was it actually also like dynamic standard admission pricing on the Eras tour?
For Eras, I don't remember, but probably. I mean, it was only 4 years ago. 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Wasn't it like last year? I mean, like, didn't it end? I don't know.
It ended last year, yes.
Why do we tolerate fees that we would reject in any other industry? If you brought your car in to have your alignment changed, to have your tires rotated, and someone says, "Yeah, we're charging you an $80 fee." What's it? Is it for labor? No, it's just an extra fee. What's it for? Because you brought it to us? I don't know. It's just every mechanic shop in the city is just charging. It's like what?
Right.
I mean, like, you would drive all over town until you found a place that didn't do that anymore. And then you go online.
And it used to be like, it actually used to be that if you bought a ticket at the venue that the show was taking place, you didn't get the fee.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I was always very incentivized to go to the venue and actually buy the ticket at that box office to save $5. Right. Talking like high school days.
Yeah.
As opposed to going to Rite Aid Pharmacy or, Sam Goody to buy tickets there, because then you got a $3, $4, $5 fee. Speaking of fees, you were talking earlier about kind of the other things that had been done. We missed talking about what Biden did, the junk fee rule in 2024, right? Which didn't do anything to the price of the ticket. It was just transparency, not affordability.
Right.
But that is at least where the actual price of the ticket was presented to you first. Because until then, you would have the case of being like, oh gosh, I'm in. Where's the ticket? Okay, $120. Yeah. Okay, go here. Like, here's my credit card information. And then just before you hit purchase, it goes $180 per ticket. Like, what happened? And then, like, I'm too far into it. I just got to press it and go.
Right, otherwise you're losing.
That's what that one was about. Again, transparency, not affordability, but another piece in this puzzle.
What's annoying too is, and I wish we could have somebody who actually works at a venue to answer this question. But like, you talk about going to the venue to bypass the fees.
Yeah.
I don't know to be for certain, but I think even if you go to the venue now, because I know Foo Fighters did a show like that, and you can still go to some venues and do that, they still have a fee.
Oh yeah, it's
and it's like this. It's like the tip culture. It's like, but I'm doing all the work. You just rung me up. What's the extra charge for? You're being paid an hourly wage to do this job of beep boop on the computer, spit out a ticket, or email me the digital. What did you do? That's worth. I don't get that. I don't understand that.
Applying that logic means like your $4 fee before just went to Sam Goody or to Rite Aid Pharmacy for the convenience of being able to buy the ticket there, right? Like, that would make sense. But the fees now are just so much other stuff.
And because it's all digital too, it's like, what happened here? That microsecond of a computation.
Yeah.
Like, what's my $40 service fee to Ticketmaster? Is that for a server charge?
And like, and how is it sometimes 40 and how is it sometimes 100? And it's not proportional to the ticket. And depending on which tickets you're getting, the fee is more and less, and it was confusing. I remember kind of just like tooling around sometimes and thinking, okay, now let me see what the fee would be, and then and it was just like I couldn't figure it out.
Let me ask you, Bill, 2 questions.
Okay,
because I think they go hand in hand. Question number 1: is Ticketmaster uniquely bad, or is this just modern capitalism working as designed? That's question number 1.
Okay.
Uniquely bad or just modern capitalism working the way it was always intended to? Okay. Second question. Dynamic pricing. That came up.
Okay.
Is that legitimate economics tied to capitalism working as intended? Or is that basically just legalized scalping?
I think the answers to all of those are yes, because if you argue the libertarian point of view, free markets, competition, then yeah, Live Nation and Ticketmaster did what they did within the rules that we've created for this, marketplace in this economic system. But if you don't have a governing body to police it correctly, if they aren't being paid off and lobbied on the side to ignore the rules, then you've got a problem. So is the problem capitalism? Is the problem people who are in the government who are supposed to be policing this? Is it a bit of both? Because you could argue that dynamic pricing is basic capitalism. The market has dictated that this is the price people want to pay for this thing.
Right.
Okay.
I took the family to Disneyland not too long ago. We stay at a hotel in Anaheim. Okay. And pull in, I go there. I need to get my little placard to put on my car so that I don't get towed like I'm parked at the hotel illegally. They want $40. Like $40 for parking? Like, yeah, you get $40. That's a parking fee. But I've already paid you to spend the night here. I cannot spend the night here if I do not park at your establishment. It is a prerequisite for getting here. And
they would argue, what if you Ubered?
Right.
Okay. Well, but that.
And are they the same? Point, right? Are there the same number of parking spots as rooms? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, that's fair too. So, and then there's other people who are paying to use those spots during the day to then walk to the park, right? So again, it just goes back to that question of, is this like legitimate, economics and capitalism working as it was intended to, or is this basically like, legalized scalping? And
so my two answers to your questions are the first answer is Ticketmaster is not uniquely bad.
Oh yeah, no,
it is good business, right? It is actually efficient. Right. I think there are pieces, cost aside, we are paying for the convenience that comes with, a band, granted, not having the freedom, but being able to just get out on the road, right?
Yes.
Get onto the road, not get as much money as they deserve, but get out on the road and get in front of us. We benefit from that. So I think, as you said too, right? They acted within the guardrails. They went too far. We have to think of ways to creatively architect, as the Rolling Stone article says, the verdict for how we're going to build the solution. In terms of dynamic ticket pricing, I would agree with you that it actually is more like glorified scalping, or the word that you used, because there is a certain amount of money that needs to be made back, right? This is going to go back to what I talked about with Pearl Jam, right? There's a certain amount of money that needs to be made back, and they know what that is before the first ticket goes on sale. So if every ticket is priced accordingly to say, okay, look, let's even give them a little extra. Let's say we predict 80% of the arena is going to sell out. So we're going to price these tickets to make back the money at 80%.
That's the scale.
That's where it should be. And that's that's the only place it should be. But what unfortunately I believe, even from my own experience is happening is you've got the diehards who are going to be on like the second tickets go on sale and pay whatever it is you want, right? And that might get them closer to making back their costs quickly, to the point where they don't even care if the rest of the tickets go for $10 or whatever else it is, right? Because then we see ticket prices falling. That's the part that I just don't think is right at all. You should have a price. You can set it at whatever you want to, but the price should stick.
So I agree with you, Sheehan. The reason why I said yes is because I think it is. This is the hidden answer to my first answer. I think it is pure capitalism as the definition is.
Sure.
A price is dictated by the marketplace. If a ton of fucking people want to go, well, how much you want to pay? It's an auction.
Supply and demand, right?
Supply and demand. But maybe the flaw is in the system. maybe that's a bug, not a feature. Maybe the system of free range capitalism isn't all it's cracked up to be. Yes, this is a completely different conversation, but that's part of the answer. And so that's where the governing body has to be like, hold on.
Yeah.
The supply and demand, you guys decided that this was it. Okay, that's what it is. You can't keep going. You can't keep.
Right.
That's
why there are creative ways, right? When I defended PJ Premium,
yes,
right, they needed to make back a certain amount, but they wanted to keep prices. They wanted to keep 80% of prices,
90%
low, right? 90%, sure, 90% low, and they did that by increasing the prices on 10% of the tickets for people who had a choice of whether or not they were going to buy them, and it was upfront pricing, and people bought them and subsidized the tickets for the rest of us. Like, I'm okay with that model, honestly. Like, it's a little bit of, it's a little bit of both, and it helps people in the long run, and at the same time allows other people to pay what they're able to pay, therefore subsidizing other folks. I mentioned this on my own Instagram earlier today, actually, talking about Blue Dot Fever, right? We're not, at least I'm not at the point where I am with airline tickets, where I have no idea and I don't even care if the person next to me paid less than me. I think everybody on a plane these days paid a different price for their ticket. Mm-hmm. And all of us are fine with that. We don't think about it enough. We don't care about it enough. But with concerts, we're just not there yet. And to take advantage of a diehard fan because they bought tickets early and reward someone who waited till the day of to buy tickets and therefore got a great deal on better seats for a lower price, that's what feels wrong.
Sheehan, let me ask you a question. And this is not...
Whenever Paul starts off like this, I'm like, oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
This is not directed at you.
Okay.
Right? As Concertpants, like your profile. Okay? Yeah. But because you exist within that sphere,
sure,
I feel as though you have an innate understanding and a proximity to a lot of other accounts that perhaps, dare I say, this may not be fair. I was going to say lack the authenticity that you present yourself to be, and are, but mind you. But here's the question: Is the modern concert going experience becoming less about music and more about social media proof?
That's an interesting question.
I don't know.
Because it is.
So I think
people will pay because it's branding, right? It's like a vehicle for just look where I'm at.
I don't think your two choices are the binary choice, because I think concert experiences may be becoming less about music, but not necessarily only about social media proof. Right. And I think one way to put that is also like the absolute resurgence of festivals. Right. We can't count the number of festivals that are going on all around the country now. And take Ohana, for example. There are 8 music festivals going on that same weekend all over the country. Like when we were playing games trying to figure out who was going to be there, and it was like, oh, another festival just got announced that weekend, so none of those artists are going to be there. I mean, literally, I think 7 or 8 festivals going on the same weekend. Now, the festivals are about more than just watching the music, right? There's an ambiance. There's a social aspect to it. There's the location that you're in. Some
brand
festivals,
partnerships.
Yes, is that why live events matter more now than I think they ever did before?
I think festivals are injecting a lot into live music and into the live music experience for sure. And frankly, I used to be like kind of I'm not a festival guy, and I've actually come back around. So and it's not only I don't go how many times have you heard a Pearl Jam fan say, it's a festival, I'm not going to go to that one. I'm going to go the next night when it's actually just their show. Because festivals are greatest hits, for a bunch of people who don't know the band, and they're not going to go into deep cuts, and the show's not going to be as long, and whatever else it is, it's not the authentic band experience that a diehard fan wants to go to, but it's a casual experience. There are bands for me where I would say I'm not going to spend money on a ticket to go and see them, but if they're at a festival, I will 100% go to the stage and watch. There are a lot of bands fall into that category for me.
It's a value for money thing. The 3-day pass, what were you talking about, Ohana? 3-day pass for Ohana, I believe, was around $500. It's a lot of goddamn money.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you're getting like 35 bands, 32 bands.
You're getting a lot of music.
So if you're thinking about it from a cost benefit analysis, like if I have a chance to go see Pearl Jam and Bad Religion and Billy Idol and Alabama Shakes and Tyler Childers and Stephen Wilson Jr. and Mana and like, holy shit, all of a sudden that $500, if you actually think about breaking it down, that's not bad. Holy shit, there you go. I get a greatest hits taste of everybody. I checked off Alanis Morissette off my bucket list 4 years ago, whatever it was. Great. Fantastic. So I see the value in that.
Yeah.
I have a question. And that is, when we think about this vertical integration, and we think about how there's less of a cut that artists are getting from these shows because of this, I also think about merch. Because and Pearl Jam is not alone in this, and we are merch house. But you think about, that's where so much money for them gets made because their margins are so much greater there. But at the same time, a lot of venues are still charging like a handling, like, hey, you're selling t-shirts at our location, we need 10% of that. Yep. For what? You already got a cut of the show. For us being in the building, you already got paid. Why are you taking a cut of my merch?
True.
Like, that's happening. It's the tip culture into that. So like, I just wonder if things like, if they get rid of this integration and all these other venues can start chiming in, they're going to have to vie for artists to come, especially in these bigger cities like Los Angeles or New York or whatever. So many mid-level venues are going to be like, well, we'll give you no percentage off the merch. Come to our venue. Yeah. We'll give you zero. We'll take no merch sales. Oh, okay. All of a sudden, artists start making a better percentage of what they are really worth. So that's a big reason why I think breaking this whole thing up is so key, because it funnels onto a lot of different points.
Absolutely.
Paul's skeptical.
No, I mean, like, companies pay teams for the stadium naming rights, right? Like that they want, that's part of their advertising. So you buy a t-shirt of a band and it's a tour shirt, right? And it's, it's going to have the name of that venue or that city. I mean, if it doesn't have any of that, I get that. But I'm saying if it's a specific piece of merch that is like, very specific to that venue, I can understand the argument of the venue saying, well, hey, like a licensing fee. Our establishment, our institution is just as much part of that experience. How many times have you referenced seeing Pearl Jam at Madison Square Garden? You know what I mean? Like, that venue, that was a draw for you. You went to Boston for a reason. You went to Wrigley for a reason. You didn't travel to, I don't know, like Camden, New Jersey, or I'm just saying. I have no judgment on that. Some of their best music comes out in these places. I'm just saying that it wasn't that venue that was like, I got to go see them there, right?
I mean, I hear your point, but if they don't, and I don't know any bit of licensing outside, any bit of merch outside of some posters that have the venue name on them. Usually it's like in the back of my shirt. It says cities.
And sometimes it has nothing. It's just the name of the city and the date, right?
That's what I'm saying. So if it's just the city, then you can't argue licensing our likeness, know. But to your point of like, well, people came here because of the venue. I think certain venues could make that argument, which is why even if this whole thing, this whole house, this whole vertical integration thing goes away, some venues could be like, well, if you want to play the Garden, we're still taking 10% because we are the fucking Garden. Whereas the amphitheater that's in, Homedale versus the amphitheater in Jones Beach, they're only 25 miles apart. Mm-hmm. They're vying for that mid-level 15,000 person show. So they might be like, well, how about 4%? So that's what I'm saying. Like that, if we open up that level from the A tier venues, then all of a sudden you start
they're competing for the artist business. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's why I think it's so important. Even if the ticket price doesn't go down, and we could talk about macroeconomics and geopolitical, and the tariffs and this, that, and the other thing, and inflation, and crude oil costs that it takes more to get. All those things are very well assumed at this point, And I think if people remember that, those are things that are out of the industry's control, he says with an asterisk, but are within our control in another part of life, our political part of our life, then I don't know how mad you can really get, because this is the world.
Well, that's the point, right? Yeah. I mean, like the most interesting thing about this Ticketmaster story isn't that people are mad. It's that people were warning us in 1994 and almost nobody listened.
What's interesting about that too is you think about 5 years later or 6 years later, when Metallica was like the only group being like, Napster's stealing from us. You guys not care about this?
True.
And it did flip. It did become a thing after a handful of years, but then streaming kind of came in and was like, undercut, sweep the leg, Johnny. And like it was a version of that where it's like, hey, we're quote unquote legal now. We're just paying them, 0.003 cents per stream. So it's like legalized stealing in a sense. Anyways,
and that's a big part of the problem too.
Yes, and we've talked about that before.
That's what you were saying earlier, right? Would they have to tour as much?
The whole business flips on its head. But here's the thing: outside of people completely eschewing streaming for physical media again, which is not going to happen, that part of the business is not going to go away. So
no, I mean, look, the Beatles dropped Rubber Soul, and they're like, we're done. The touring is over. Like, there was no.
That was just marketing.
No touring
That's all it was,
for all albums. After, I mean, Abbey Road had no touring. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right?
They knew that they could just pour themselves in the studio, not deal with the cost of carting 150 different instruments that they're using in these sessions to every venue, and still sell a bazillion records and be fine.
Because
what artists can just make a record and not?
And they can't.
Well, there are just lots of ways that artists need to find ways to survive, and like we're getting away from the original topic, but this is interesting. The another misconception is that the music industry is not dead. The record industry is dying, but the music industry is actually thriving at a level that it hasn't in a long time, and that is because of the advent of all the content we're watching. In the form of Netflix shows, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, like what have you, right? All of the content being produced now needs music.
Yes, it does.
And the licensing for that music is funding the music industry in a way that it has not been funded for decades. So the music industry is actually far from dying.
It's kind of
the
crazy.
Record industry. And so that's why getting songs onto placements, onto shows, in the middle of an episode or on commercials or like anything else like that is actually the real bread and butter too. Like where probably not enough artists are focusing enough of their time because it also involves a little bit of, write a catchy jingle. It's like, that's not what we do, But so I mean, that is the other piece of this.
That whole thing is called sync, by the way.
Sure.
And if, so I got a buddy, actually today as we're recording this, it's his birthday, but he has this band called Johnny Stranger. They're fantastic. Go check them out. Johnny Stranger. They've got like, I think 4 or 5 albums out and streaming, but they have like old records too. Anyways, they're very, very good. So they've had this band forever, and they're on their own label because, they're just, they use that label to sign other small bands, but also to create sync music to keep it's like that's the thing that's funding them to live and rent their house and all that stuff, but to play the music that they want to play. Like that's the necessary evil is doing the sync stuff, because that pays, and getting bands to get their music in sync. But then on the side, he can do what he wants to do, which is so there's less pressure on him to like, I gotta write a hit. I gotta write a hit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can do whatever the hell I want because I'm writing this sync music. Now, can you stomach doing that? Does it take away too much of your soul to write? Like I come back to that movie, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where it's not music, it's just moods.
The vampire opera. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This isn't music, this is just moods. So you make up a good point about sync music and licensing, that kind of stuff. And, the labels are just kind of banks now at this point. But, I think as we look into the future,
right,
and what this means for us as fans, because I think we talked a lot about what it means for artists. let's say that they break it up. They say Live Nation, Ticketmaster, all the things. I believe Stephen Parker, by the way, is the gentleman who wrote the Rolling Stone article that we've been referencing about the show. And he is the executive director over at a thing called NIVA, National Independent.
NIVA.
Is it NIVA? Whatever. National Independent Venues Association, I'm going to say. And so they've been fighting this fight for a long time. So they do all the things that NIVA is hoping that the courts and the juries, whoever decides this stuff, are going to do. Divestiture, blowing the whole thing up, allowing competition at the venue and promotion level. What do we think it means for fans? And will enough change that we care, or will we be annoyed that we have to go through 3 different apps to get 3 different concerts?
Good point.
Because there was Axis, right? That's still a thing.
I still use Axis a lot. AXS, yeah.
Any show at the Crypto.com arena in downtown Los Angeles where the Lakers play,
right?
They're exclusive to them, right? And same thing with Dignity Hill Sports Park. It's a soccer stadium in Carson, California. They have concerts. They're access only, but then Ticketmaster has almost everything else. So imagine how many more ticketing companies show up. Are we going to like this?
Yeah. And the other interesting part about those desires out of the New York ruling, one actually said, which I didn't quite get, was Ticketmaster needs to open up their technology to other companies to use. And so it's kind of like,
that seems illegal.
I know. I was like, I don't get that part of it. So if there are listeners out there who get it, please let us know. But yeah, they need to open up their technology. They need to open up their platform to other companies. It's kind of like, So it would look the same with the waiting room and the queue and kind of all this other stuff, but it would just be another company
here's the other question
the platform or something. But
if there's a high demand show and it's for some group at some venue, but it's not Ticketmaster who got the contract to do it. Will that other company have the infrastructure to handle the demand of that show? Like Ticketmaster, even them.
Will we see lots of website crashing the day of ticket sales? Quite possibly.
So, is this a double-edged sword?
Yeah.
Or does that force us to go back to a model where each venue is the ticket source? Hey, there is no, we're going at all these venues and half of them are Ticketmaster, but the ones that aren't, you have to go through the venue. You have to go through the website.
Right. And this is what I meant about it being convenient, right? We benefited from the convenience of this monopoly. We paid for it. We did. But
that's why we kept feeding the machine.
Yeah, from a logistical standpoint, we benefited from it. Now you open up your Ticketmaster app, you can scroll through, look at all these shows I've got coming up. I've got this one, and this one. That goes away. It's I've got this show, and then hold on, close this out. Now, I've got this show, and I've got I forgot about that app. I didn't update it, so it didn't remind me I've got a show.
And sometimes it's will call, so I got to deal with the goddamn will call line, or it's hey, we emailed you a PDF that you got to. I got to go into my phone. I got to find the email. Did I flag it? Did I mark it as read? What did I do? Oh, there it is. Pinch. Hey, can you scan? These are such minor annoyances, but to Paul's point,
they'll amplify.
Are we going to be, or we're saving, $18 a ticket because there's less of a service fee? Be
worth it.
I don't know.
The only thing I can close with is the fact that concerts have been, and this goes back to Sheehan's point about festivals. Concerts have become must-have cultural experiences. They just have. And we live in an era where people live in bubbles. We are so disassociated and disconnected from each other because of social media, because of technology, because we have the world at our fingertips on a daily basis, and yet we have never been more removed from each other. But when you go to a concert, no matter how hard you're trying to just have tunnel vision, you can't, because there's people around you, there's people bumping into you, there's people stepping on your feet, there's people lying on the floor in front of you at the end of the day, and you begin to realize this is a cultural experience. I am experiencing something with people, a huge amount of people, and the social media and FOMO intensify the demand. So at the end of the day, I feel like, we are always going to be at a crossroads with this problem. But what's important to understand is that, as Sheehan mentioned, like, music is alive and well, and going to see music has arguably never been more important and necessary than it is right now. And given that point, we are going to succumb to convenience if it gets us to that place. And we're going to pay a premium for it. What we have to caution against, what we have to make sure we ensure it doesn't happen, is that it becomes so exclusionary that people can't afford it anymore. And because it's just like buying a home. If it gets so hard,
true,
people leave. Like, I can't afford to live here anymore. You know what I mean? I can't.
And I think we're seeing that to a degree where people are going to less shows and they're saying, I'm going to zero in on these 3 instead of these 10 because I can only afford to go to the 3 based on what this is why I personally am hoping that this whole thing gets blown up, because I don't mind the inconvenience of having to go and find the ticket in my email. I don't mind having to go to a different website or a different app.
Sure.
If I know that, hey, ticket prices might be either nominal, maybe there's a slight decrease because the service charge isn't there or isn't as much, but also because now I know that my money is, more of it's going to the artist, and that makes me feel a certain way. And that might be intangibles, and you're like saying, well, if it's still too much, I'm not going to go. Fair play. And I'm the same thing. If it's still too much, I'm not going to go. And the blue dot fever is going to exist, and the market will correct itself. But at least the market will correct itself in an area, in an environment where there is more competition and more opportunity for our beloved artists to make a living doing this thing and not have a side hustle on fucking OnlyFans,
which
or
they should
TikTok
not have to do,
or Twitch doing God knows what. I'm getting a little mad right now. Because I'm thinking of bands
very up
in the
to date
moment.
on your socials too. I don't have accounts on any of those.
Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck me. I can think of a couple of the bands off the top of my head who will tour. They're not massive bands, but they're pretty solid bands. And then in the downtime, they'll do like Twitch or YouTube or whatever. And it's like, bro, lead singer from the darkness, you don't need to be doing that. You're a rock star. We should just be a rock star. Now, if you're doing it for funsies, great. But like, if it's a necessary evil, the singer from Highly Suspect, he needed a GoFundMe during the hurricanes or the tornadoes that were happening last year because he doesn't make enough money as the lead singer of Highly Suspect to afford a utility bill. So he has to go and do Twitch streams. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I'd rather pay the same, be slightly inconvenienced, and have them get what they deserve, I think. Soapbox off now. Sorry.
It's just that we are absorbing the cost of streaming.
Yeah, we are.
It does not generate the revenue that it should for the artist. So that buck has been passed to the ticket prices and to it always gets passed, right? It's so
where does the buck stop? There. Right fucking here.
Well, I mean, like it would be interesting to know kind of, because I'm well aware of that, right? I'm well aware that the artist makes the most margin on merch, and I never leave a concert without buying merch, especially at small shows, right?
Yes.
And like even if I have all the albums, I like buy another one to give someone, one. But how many of us are out there? Like how many of us are out there that does that and like, like really pays attention to that kind of a thing? That's also why when streaming first kind of came out and I was like, oh gosh, like, having this moral dilemma, like, should I be doing this? And I kind of thought to myself, you know what, like I do inject a lot of money into this industry anyway. Like, I think this is okay. But I mean, look at that shelf of records behind me, right? And then like, that's actually helping to carry the industry too now again. But yeah, I just wonder how many of us there are out there that like, that would be that faithful, that would be that, diligent about making sure we support the artists in those ways too.
Yeah. Fair questions, gents.
All of you out there, if this has touched a nerve, I would love for you to get into the comments. Maybe not as nervy as me, but or maybe more so. Who the hell knows? I don't know your life. I feel like that's a Varsity Blues quote. I don't want your life, but get in those comments. Let us know where you stand on this issue. Yeah, we can yell Ticketmaster is a son of a gun till the cows come home. But like we've dived into this latest verdict, and the sentencing hasn't happened yet as of this taping. But I think I'm hopeful that at least the artists will get a greater share of which they deserve from these high costs, and that. Yeah. Anyways, let us know. Let us know in the comments. If you are watching here on YouTube, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. That's free, by the way. So you can just do that. And if listening only, Paul, what should they do?
You can rate, you can review, and hopefully subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm instead of the machine. Although there is a machine we should be feeding, the Hope Machine, huh?
Hey, I love that. Callback. Matt Finlan of EBRP Matter of Time fame. I love that. And, if you want to support any of us on the screen, there are links below for Sheehan's merch, our Patreon. There's hosting fees and whatnot. We're just saying thank you, and hitting the like button is great, and we appreciate that. And otherwise, buy
Sheehan merch, even if you already have it. Give it to someone. Just give.
You need a backup copy of that sticker. You need a backup shirt
for sure.
I know people in our Discord who have multiple copies of the same shirt because they're worried they're going to wear it out.
That is a legit worry.
I'm very strategic about when and how often I wear this.
This is like fading now, and I'm like, man, why didn't I buy another one?
See, you got to go find Mr. Siglin and get yourself a new copy.
That's exactly right.
That's why they make them in black. Like, it's going to be brown in 2 years. They have to buy another one.
It's vintage, bro.
For sure. Sure.
Thank you for all being with us, and we'll see you online. If not in line for the next show.
It's coming up. Go to Ohana Festival. We're all going to be there.
Got our tickets.
Why am I whispering? I don't know. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Until we do, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.